Hi, and welcome to our Friday afternoon broadcast. Thank you so much for jumping on with us. Whether you're catching us live or on the rebroadcast, we appreciate you being here. Please take a second to leave us a comment in the comment section so that we know that you either stopped by after the rebroadcast or let us know that you're here live so that we can invite you in on the live conversation with us. Today, we are going to be talking about taking your eyes off the scale and giving you some different areas that you can use as a measuring point for your success with what it is that you want to do with your health and your overall wellness. Always take a second too, if you don't mind, to hit that like button if you're joining us on Facebook, and if you're catching this on YouTube, hitting that subscribe button will also get you access to this amazing community when we upload new content. So Michael and I today, we're going to talk about non-scale victories and how to really disassociate your success and or failure or even just your progress in other ways than a number that pops on a one type of measuring device, which is the scale. And we're going to also share with you a little bit about how that can be super deceiving and really kind of set us up for failure if that's really the only indicator that we're using for success. So we got the idea for this talk from something we saw on, Callie's going to join us today too, something that we saw on, I think it was Good Morning America, where someone, hey Callie, someone put a hashtag to a picture on an Instagram photo that said gaining weight is cool. So hashtag gaining weight is cool. And they were talking about the fact that they no longer weigh themselves. And what that initially did for me as not only a woman, but a mom of a young girl and someone who coaches women on, the emotional upset of weight and scales and what we really should be striving for is our success with what we're trying to do with our health and well-being, it kind of set up some red flags for me. One is, that weight does kind of matter, but we just don't want to gauge our success or failure off of that. And so taking one positive thing, like don't use the scale as a way to measure if you're being successful or whether you're worthy or whatever it is that you're measuring that for. We also don't want to go off the other end and send the signal that gaining weight is cool. Gaining the right weight is cool, but most people don't stop to really rationalize that or process what that really means. And so we could be sending a separate signal where people could very easily either become unhealthy or justify some unhealthy things because that's a trending hashtag in social media kind of thing. So we want to hit the middle of the road. And the middle of the road is really figuring out a lifestyle that allows you to, what I always say is look and feel your best and live your most authentic life. And if you're gaining unnecessary weight, I guarantee you're not going to be feeling your best. And if you're not feeling your best, you're not going to be looking your best. And if you're underweighing, same thing applies. And if you're stepping on the scale habitually, so that's your measure of feeling like you're successful, I guarantee you're not going to be feeling your best either, because the scale is never really an indicator of whether we're doing something right or wrong for our own personal body, because we have this preconceived number in our head, which may not apply to either where we are in our life, maybe a season we're living in our life, or by what we have set up that may not be realistically. And so I'll use my own personal experiences with the scale. And then Michael, you can kind of chime in on this whenever you feel like you need to. But I've been at a point with my own body where I've weighed about 170 something pounds, but was completely cut. And I was preparing for a physique competition. So my body was pure muscle and I was very heavy, but I wore like a size 6, could have probably squeezed into a size 4. And that's really, really small for me, but I weighed a lot. I've also weighed 140 something pounds and could barely squeeze my body into a size 14 because my body was primarily made up of fat and I didn't have a lot of mass on my body in regards to muscle. So I've been at both extremes. And this is where I've really kind of rationalized the fact that the scale doesn't really matter because I've been super heavy and really lean. And I could tell you that when I was super heavy and really lean, I wasn't exactly living the most healthy life. I was starving myself to death and totally over exercising and overworking out in the gym. And when I was in my, 140s and I was barely squeezing into a size 14, I can't say I was exactly healthy then either, but the number would indicate so. So we have to find that happy medium for ourselves, and really disconnecting ourselves to the number being a success or failure is the best way to go. And the only way we can do that is if we ditch the scale completely. For a lot of us, we don't have the self-control to stay off the scale. And so we get on and we're like, oh, I just want to see what it says. And I've done that myself. I've stepped on the scale on a day where I felt absolutely amazing in my own skin. And then I saw those numbers pop up and I immediately felt deflated. Like, how can I feel this way and weigh this much? And it can immediately send an emotional reaction in your body. We know emotions are attached to hormones, and hormones are attached to weight, and weight is attached to that feeling. And so if we put ourselves in that panic mode and that feeling of failure, when like literally a split second before those numbers popped up, you felt like such a success, it can really send us down into the spiral of, why am I even bothering? I should have just eat the cake anyway. Why am I working out? And we can justify sort of throwing in the towel on something that if you would have just maybe waited 2 days or let your body weight actually catch up to the feeling that you had, it might have been a completely different situation. We never know when our body's going to be at that point of comfortably releasing weight. And the scale and how we look and feel is like a huge mystery we haven't been able to solve. I can't explain to the women who have taken the course that I teach why it is that they've gone down a complete pant size, but the scale hasn't budged. I don't know. Nobody really knows why that happens. I always just say, just revel in it and be grateful for it and stay off the scale. Go by your clothing size, go by what you see in the mirror, go by how you're feeling, go by your emotions and how successful you're feeling. And if you don't have to be on that scale, then just stay off of it. And I know you've kind of had those experiences as well.
It's probably a little different for men. Like me, I don't really have a hang up with the scale. I never really have. So jumping on it, I know if I'm fat or if I'm not fat. It doesn't really matter. Like but I do like I have used it like to gauge like where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm up, it doesn't bring me down because I tend to lose weight pretty easy anyway. So it's
like
never
all men.
So it's never really been that big of a deal to me. But I do enjoy seeing the non-scale victories with intermittent fasting. I mean, I've seen a ton of them. So that I'm definitely more proud of in the scale. And I used to be proud of the scale. Like, I'm working out so hard, I'm doing all these things, and look at my weight's down, and then it is disappointing when you go back and you gain 10 or 15 more pounds. So it's a different thing now. Like I'm not really so tied to the scale because I do have a lot of these non-scale victories. I mean, I have a ton. I could, off the top of my head, like my gout, plantar fasciitis situation, I got that under control, and I know that was with fasting and sleeping better, and using ketones. Yeah, and I have a nickname, Tiny Tanks, and my son's Tiny Tanks Jr. I just when I used to go out and do appraisals, I would have mapped out like where all the rest stops were because I'm going to have to go, so I've used every quick trip, fast track bathroom like in Texas because when I got to go, I got to go. Well, that's changed. And I think it's because my prostate was, as with age with men, your prostate will tend to be enlarged, and I'm not sure if that's what I was experiencing, but it's changed now. I don't have that anymore, so it's got to be the fasting.
Well, and he sleeps through the night. He used to have to get up to use the restroom a couple of times
Several
too.
times.
And again, like I talked about how I don't know where my keys are. Oh, I can't remember where I parked my car. Like we laugh that off as like, oh, because you're aging, and we're not supposed to laugh that off. It's not normal. I remember where I parked my car now. I almost always remember where my keys are. And I had that scary time where I couldn't remember my kids' names. Like that doesn't happen anymore. I could speak more fluidly because I don't have those, complete blanks in my brain as I'm trying to carry on a conversation. So all of those things for me came back too, which is a huge non-scale victory. And for Michael, it's the not having to panic, know where bathrooms are all the time because of his prostate, assuming that's what it was. My stress incontinence is no longer a problem. So we both had those kind of situations where we thought, oh, it's because we're getting older, and they've reversed and we're not getting younger. So that wasn't it. It's just that everything in our body with what we've been practicing with the lifestyle that we live has improved and healed. And so those are the things that we want to really cherish as victories. And I don't step on the scale anymore, but if I were to step on the scale today, I would almost guarantee I would feel really disappointed because of the number, because I'm a big girl. I'm like 5'9" something, and it depends on who's measuring me. I always like to say 5'10". 5'10", I'm a big structured body. I carry a lot of muscle. So when I'm 160, I'm like dialed in, like my stuff is good. I have very little body fat on my body. I'm pretty lean and cut. But 160, I weigh more than a lot of men. And that number is a scary number to say out loud. Like I would much rather weigh 140, but that's not a healthy weight for my body frame. That's not a healthy weight for my lifestyle. So I have to look for those non-scale victories, because I'm not going to find a victory psychologically and emotionally on the scale, because I've always just been a big girl. Now I'm okay with that. I like having a muscular body. I like having a big frame. It carries me well as I'm aging, because everything's kind of like staying where it's supposed to stay, which is a great thing. And I do have a lot of lean muscle, but it can mess with me if I'm not in check with that. So let's try to find some non-scale victories. Another thing, a great way to measure your success with the lifestyle that you're living are those objective kind of measures too. Like when you go to the doctor, are you panicking? Are you nervous? Are you scared what your blood results are going to come back at? Are you afraid of what your doctor's going to say when they take your blood pressure? All of those things are those stressors that really do weigh us down. But if we're living this great lifestyle, we're really functioning in a way that leads us to looking and feeling our best, then you can go to the doctor, and those measures that end up being non-scale victories, like my doctor could care less how much I weigh because my blood pressure is on point. My resting heart rate is that of an athlete. I don't have any blood sugar issues anymore. My A1C is perfect. We don't have diabetic situations creeping up on us anymore. My memory is back. My hormones appear to be balanced out. I'm not like going through any crazy mood swings anymore, and I emotionally feel really good about myself. Those are all amazing non-scale victories. If I were to get on the scale, those things could change because I'm focusing on the wrong victory, right? Another thing that we focus on too is how our clothes are fitting. For me as a woman, a big thing, and I know for Michael too, I just bought him a size smaller, was it pair of shorts?
Yeah.
And he always gets mad at me when I do that, but I do it because I know that it'll work. So I buy him a size smaller pair of shorts. I'm like, go try these on, and they fit him. And those are big deals because our body size, our body mass is decreasing, but we're not having to do desperate things to get there, and we're not focusing on the wrong things. We're focusing on all the right things. Are we healthy first and foremost? Are we making healthy choices for our life, both physically, mentally, and emotionally? Are we feeling deprived? Are we feeling bummed out that we're not living, socially fun times? And all those things are the factors that are going to really make you feel like you need to jump ship, or it's not worth it when you do step on that scale and it's a higher number than you think, and you're not focusing or appreciating all the other areas that you've made such great progress in, that really end up being the bigger things that matter, because those are the life-sustaining things. Those are the things that are going to make you, stuck at the pharmacy, having to refill prescriptions all the time, or feeling like you're just a hot mess because you're not balanced out because your hormones aren't balanced out, and you're feeling like it's the end of, the good times, which is where I was 2 years ago, thinking, man, the 50s and on are going to suck. And here at 52 now, I'm feeling the other way. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to do all the fun things that we have planned with our kids. And I can't wait to get to 60 because, it's going to be such a great time for us. And there's not a lot of people in the world today who really are excited about aging, because everything seems to be deteriorating. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to go back to focusing on the wrong reward system. The scale is not the indicator of whether you're living your life healthy, and neither is hashtag gaining weight is cool. We don't want to really send that message, especially to our young girls. And a lot of, and not to be derogatory or anything, but there are generation gaps in what people think is acceptable and not acceptable. And I just don't think it's acceptable to focus on someone's image on Instagram or Facebook or even YouTube that could be distorted in a way that's not really sharing the true picture of what they're doing to get their results. I was that person for a while who was like starving myself to death and over exercising and posing in pictures and, oh, everybody could do this. But really nobody wanted to do those things to look that way. And it lasts for a flash second while you're taking a picture. And then you go back to what I call the fat, fit, fat cycle, where you're out of shape and out of looking your best because you're trying to live your life normally. And then you just drill it down to the bare minimums to get fit, and then you can't sustain that for very long, and then you get fat again. So the fat fit cycle is something we want to avoid as well, and just stay as consistent as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you live that cycle too, right?
Yeah, I did. And there's other non-scale victories I'd like to share. Is when I grew up, me and my only brother, we would have like, we only had 3 channels in Kentucky, and when King Kong was coming on, or Elvis, or there was just certain things that would come on TV, and we would just talk about it all day, just be so excited to watch that TV show. Well, I'm a nodder, so the minute I would hit the couch, I would go to sleep. And so I've dealt with this pretty much my whole life. And I think now changing my energy source, I'm still a nodder. If I'm tired, I hit that couch, I'll nod. But I think my energy is different now. Like I can stay awake a lot longer without nodding. Because I've spent my whole life. I even had a friend talking to me once at work, and he's talking to me, and I started to nod while he's talking to me, and I felt so bad. Like, wow, like how must he feel that he must think I'm not paying attention to him because I'm nodding off. So that's a big victory, is to have a sustained energy and not whenever you sit down, you fall asleep.
Well, and that part too this is where we really say, listen to the signs and signals that your body's sending you. And Michael also had some blood work done, and all of his blood work was great, with the exception of he was deficient in iron and vitamin D. So he kept falling asleep. And I know through my nutritional studies that and women usually know this too, because we tend to be anemic or iron deficient, is that you feel super fatigued. So I kept harping, like wives do, like, dude, just take your iron, you'll feel better. And we got him some iron, because iron can be that thing that can kind of upset your stomach as well. So we got him some iron that finally worked for him. And so he's consistently taking his iron. So he's not, hopefully, iron deficient anymore. And now his energy is up as well. So not only is he using his own body's resources for energy more efficiently, but if you notice those kind of things, you have to pay attention to them. And iron deficiency is that thing that can make you feel fatigued. Oftentimes as a society, when we feel fatigued, we think it's because we need to eat. No, you don't need to eat. You got to figure out why it is you're feeling fatigued. And so always listen to those signs and signals and try to find the root problem, or the root cause, I guess, of why you're feeling that way. And then do your research to see how it is best to fix that problem that you're having. And for Michael, it was simply just adding iron to his life. We don't eat red meat. I don't know why he was iron deficient. Sometimes it just happens. And so he got his iron levels back up, and now he doesn't fall asleep as much as he used to. That's a great thing.
And to answer your question, yes, I did live that fat, fit, fat. And, I've seen a lot of friends go through that same cycle too. It's like, you just do all these crazy things to get in shape, and it's almost like you start all over. You go back to your old ways and you put back on that. We've all been through that, right? You put back on that cycle. 10, 15, 20 pounds, and then you got to go through that all over again. Well, this lifestyle, you don't really have to do that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Okay, if you've ditched the scale and you're catching this live, or even if you're catching this on the rebroadcast, if you've ditched the scale, put ditched the scale in the comments, and we'll see how many scales we've been able to ditch so far. Barb, awesome to have you on. Tammy, good to have you. Becky, that scale can make or break a day. That's for sure, sister. For me too. Paula, good to have you here. I need to break the scale addiction. Yes. Okay, here's some tips on how to break the scale addiction. And I say this about food too. Like quit using your kids as the excuse for why there's goldfish in your house. Your kids shouldn't be eating goldfish either. So stop buying them. The same thing with the scale. Like the best thing to do to not step on the scale is physically remove it from your home. Like take it to a neighbor's house, put it in the trunk of your car, take it to, I don't know, throw it away, whatever you got to do, but get it out of the center of the bathroom or wherever it is that you step on that scale. Just remove it. And before you know it, you won't even miss it. But if it's sitting there, you do feel that urge because we're so conditioned to believe that that is our success or failure that you will step on it, and you deserve better than that. So physically pick it up and remove it from the premises, whether it's take it to your neighbor's house or put it in the trunk of your car or throw it in the trash, whatever you have to do. Just be comfortable with knowing that you don't need it. It's not your gauge for success. And trust me, every time you go to the doctor, they're going to ask you to get on a scale. Note, you do not by any means have to get on a scale at a doctor's office either. Just decline to say, no, thank you. I don't need to know what I weigh, and you don't have to get on a scale. Or if you get on a scale, ask them not to tell you what it is or look away or whatever you got to do. But there's really no need to ever step on a scale if you don't want to. Okay, let's see if we got some stuff here. Jillian, no weighing anymore. Good for you, girlfriend. Tammy, no scale for me. Awesome. Debbie, love this. I have been avoiding the scale that you've been addicted to because I don't want to start off the day feeling defeated. I keep telling myself to focus on how my clothes fit, which is great. Haven't been on the scale for 2 whole weeks. Congratulations, girlfriend. That's a big deal. Yes. Leah, hello. Tammy ditched. Awesome. Leah, not quite ready to ditch the scale. I would strongly encourage you to ditch it. It's not going to do you any good. Trust me. And here's the other thing. We often use the scale as a way to justify what we're doing as a means of, oh, I can get away with this and still weigh this, or I must be fine because I weigh this, or whatever it is you're doing. If you're fasting correctly and you're feasting correctly, everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to work because your body's going to get to its own normal point, right? And we often don't even know what our own normal point is because we're trying to chase someone else's plan, or we're trying to chase something that's not realistic. The one time I weighed in the mid to low 40s, I was literally starving myself to death, and I was constantly working out. And it wasn't a very fun life. So when I think about what my goal weight should be, I always go to the 140 something because that's when I feel like I was at my best. But then when I disassociate from the number and think about what I had to do to be 140, it wasn't any fun. Not any fun at all. And then oftentimes I hear women throw out some random number of what they want to weigh. And then I asked them, when was the last time you weighed that? And it was like when they were in their 20s, before they had 3 kids and have been married and have a full-time career they're managing and a zillion other things. And so that's not even a realistic way to set expectations for yourself, because unless you give up your kids and give up your husband and give up your job and give up all the things you're doing in your life, you can't ever get back to that 120 or whatever it was, because your life is different. So you would have to go to exactly what you had going on in your life at that time, and there's way too much to give up. I would never give up my 2 beautiful kids to have the body I had before them, ever. It's just too much to give up. It wouldn't be worth it. So we have to also make sure that when we pick that weight or we pick that body that we want to have, is it realistic for the season of life that we are in today? And do we have to maybe change the vision that we have for ourselves? You don't have to settle for anything or say, well, because I'm 50, I have to look a certain way. Trust me, I don't want to look like most 50-year-old women. I want to work like my best 50-year-old version. Michael wants to look like his best 50-something-year-old version. So we have to make sure that we have a clear and healthy understanding and visualization of what our best physique is, where we are in our season today, and what we have to give up to make that happen.
And it's important to note that you don't know when that weight's going to drop off.
Right.
I mean, you might think that you do because, I've been working out and I've been on a pretty good regimen for the last month, and then you get on the scale and there's no change. That's disappointing when you think that there should be some change because I've been doing all this work. Well, you don't know when it's going to kick in. It might kick in on the 3rd month. You know, I know when I started this intermittent fasting, I wasn't dropping all kinds of weight. It just kind of gradually it kind of kicked in. So you don't know when yours is going to kick in. And it could be, next month, but you've already kind of thrown it in. Like Diane said, well, I might as well have that cake. Like it's not working anyway. So that's why people give up on whatever thing they're doing, because they think, well, it's obviously not working, so I'm not losing any weight. That's not really the case.
Yeah, and in most weigh-in days, and again, I have to go back to the day when I forced people to do this, and I apologize if I ever did that to you, but is, Friday or a Monday. I always had people weigh in on a Monday, so they felt self-conscious about what they did on the weekend. But so you pick 2 days out of 7 that you're going to weigh yourself, when realistically your weight could fall off on a Thursday or a Wednesday. So again, that's that thing that don't set yourself up for failure when you don't really know when your body is going to be okay with letting go of weight. Maybe all you need is a good night's sleep and you're going to drop a couple pounds. And then the other thing we have to keep in mind too is the digital scale, right? And the ounces thing. Like the only time ounces gained or lost should be a factor is if you're an infant, because ounces make a big deal when you're 8 or 9 pounds, right? If you're 8 or 9 pounds and you lose 6 ounces, that's a big thing. But when you're a grown woman or a grown man and you step on the scale and you're like, oh my God, I just gained 4 ounces. Like, go to the bathroom or take a deep breath or something. Like ounces should not be that thing that we shouldn't be on the scale as the determining factor. But if you are still addicted to the scale, like don't let ounces be the thing that's going to mess with you. Who knows what's going on inside your body chemically that has 4 ounces stuck to you? Who cares? Like you should really only be worried about what I always used to say is a 5 to 10 pound area, right? I always gave myself a plus or minus 5 pounds. So if I gained 5 pounds, I did something drastically wrong, or something's wrong in my body. Maybe I'm holding water. That's something you should pay attention to. If you drastically lose 5 pounds, you should probably also be concerned because that's a lot of weight to lose too quickly. If it's ounces and you're fretting about it, we need to have probably a really long talk about body image and self-worth and all those kind of things, because ounces shouldn't be that thing that should bother any of us, unless, of course, I said, like if you're an infant or something, because that's a great percentage of your weight if you're losing it too quickly.
More than ounces, even pounds.
Even pounds, right?
Like you can get on it. It could be 2 or 3 pounds difference overnight, and you're like, well, what happened? Like, well, nothing happened. You're holding more water than you were holding yesterday. Who cares? Or you haven't used the bathroom yet. Exactly.
So hopefully this helps our friends who are tuning in, who are scale obsessed. There's nothing that's going to come out of getting on the scale every day that's going to help you at all. You should really focus on the activities that you're participating in a day. If you're practicing intermittent fasting, when you're trying to really make some significant changes in your physique, you should really practice clean fasting for significant amount of hours in your day. And then when you choose to feast in your 24-hour period, again, we always talk about intermittent fasting being that 24-hour period. When you're feasting, if you feast on good quality food, and we are intelligent people, we know the difference between a Twinkie and, a handful of almonds. We know nutritionally what that's going to do for us. Make good conscious decisions. Don't try to justify away snacky food, or you're doing it for your kids. You're not doing it for your kids. Do it for you. Pick good quality nutrient dense foods. Fuel your body with that to sustain your life and your well-being. If you're doing those things, the scale shouldn't matter, because like I said, your body will adjust and it will do what it naturally is inclined to do. Our body has a steady state it likes to be in, a comfort level where it functions at its best. That may not be your comfort level, but if we let our body run itself, it will get to its own comfort level. And then we have to just trust that our body's intelligent enough to take us there and make us healthy there.
You were at Barb.
Pants fit. That's the best scale. Exactly.
I think you got to go down.
Exactly. Let's see.
Okay, you're at Barb there. No scale for me.
Okay, cool. Joy broke my scale addiction. Awesome. Melissa ditched that a long time ago. Love you too. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Becky still addicted to the scale. Becky, we got to get you off that thing. Jill ditched the scale. Awesome. Barb, pants fit. Paula, how about your body fat percent measurement? Okay, so that's another one of those things that I think as long as your blood work comes back, like blood work to me is the best indicator of health because your blood doesn't lie, right? And so I say, as long as everything's okay with your blood work, you don't have a fatty liver, your blood sugar levels are all good and all that kind of stuff, and you don't see a lot of fat on your body, then again, that's a measurement thing that some person put together to say that if you have 12% body fat, you're this, and 15% body fat, you're this, and 30% body fat, you're morbidly obese or whatever. Like, how are you feeling? Are you functioning through your life? Are you exercising and feeling great? Are you sleeping well? Is your overall health okay? Is your blood work okay? Are your hormones feeling like they're in check? Do you have any outside extenuating circumstances that you should be concerned about? If not, who cares? As long as you feel good in your skin. Like if I probably had my body fat checked today, I'm sure it would be on a very high end. But like I always say, to the layman who's walking past me when I'm at the beach with my kids, probably wouldn't say I was fat, and I wouldn't even care. Like, I don't feel fat. So I try to really stay away from those things because who cares, unless you're trying to get down to like some physique model type of level of body fat. Who cares? It's someone's chart that they've put together that's going to tell you whether you're successful or you're a failure. And if you feel good, who cares?
Yeah, and if you're a normal, everyday person, you're not going to get down to those low body fat. I mean, there's some. I mean, like if you're a marathoner, I mean, not talking about you guys that are into triathlons and all that stuff. That might be something that's of concern to you. Like you need to be a certain weight, your physique. A physique model or bodybuilding or whatever. But to the normal person, I think that would be more disappointing than the scale, is to get a 25% body fat number back or 30% body fat number, and you're like just shocked, like just floored that you're holding so much body fat when normal people carry a lot of body fat,
right?
Unless you're, like I said, some type of physique model. It's going to be, you need really, really low body fat. But
for someone to judge that you should win a body physique contest. Yeah. So it's all someone else's outside opinion of you too. A lot of fitness programs that are for sale use body fat measurement as a success or failure because they have to have some means to measure that their program works. That's all sort of a facade kind of thing too. And then the other thing that you have to remember about body fat is you better go to a place that's accurate, because if you're measuring your body fat at home and you're not consistent with where you're pinching with the calipers or whatever, it can completely vary. So if you're going to get body fat done, I would say go do a water test where it's really accurate about what your body composition is, and anything outside of that, you're kind of running the risk of being either false confidence, or you're going to be disappointed because you're probably not going to get an accurate reading.
And you have to think about it this way too. Are you gonna live that life? Okay, you're gonna go to a 5% body fat. Okay, you probably could do that. 10% body fat. Are you going to live that 10% body fat life? And is that authentic to the way you live? And probably not.
Yeah, and the other thing for women especially, and a man, men, what we're really concerned about is that center fat, that midsection fat, because it does increase the risk of heart disease and all those kind of things. But I don't need someone to tell me what my body fat is to know I have body fat in the center. All I got to do is grab it or try to put on some jeans and have it roll over my pants. Like, I know when I have extra body fat in the center. I know Michael feels the same way. It's when I have to buy him bigger pants, not smaller pants, that we have to be concerned about that. So the thing about women too is we get so obsessed with not having any visual fat. Fat is what makes us women. Fat is what makes us have these amazing bodies. Fat is what helps our hair stay in our head. Fat is what helps our skin look moisturized. Fat is what keeps our hormones balanced and our brain functioning. And if we go too low on fat, that's when we really start to run the risk of having some problems creep up on us. So I am at a stage of my life at 52 where I kind of enjoy a little extra body fat on my body because it makes me feel more comfortable. And it makes me feel heavier. And if you don't like the little bit of cellulite that you see on the back of my legs, I don't care. Look somewhere else. I'm living a really great life and I feel really healthy and I'm confident in my own skin. And if it's not up to your standards and you're looking at me, look somewhere else. I don't care. So we have to be really careful about that too. We don't want to go too low to the point where we're so concerned about what other people think about us that we're not taking our own health into consideration. We always need to do that first and really feel good in our own skin. When I have been at a lower body fat, again, I wasn't living the healthiest life. And as a woman, that eventually can run into some problems because we do need fat for our brain to work and a lot of other organs and stuff on our body to work well too. So there's that fine line between being too thin and there's that fine line between having too much fat. But I guarantee you, if you're doing the work and you're feeling comfortable in your own skin and you're noticing some improvements, you're on the right path. You don't need some number on a piece of paper to justify that for you. You know when you have too much body fat and you know when you're comfortable. So we have to go back again to being realistic and to really using the signs and signals that our body is sending to us, letting us know that everything's okay and everything's balanced out.
That was an ego thing for me. I used to love to go, hey, I'm this body fat, percentage. But now, like, I don't really care. Can't remember how many years it's been since I've even had that checked.
Right. And it lasts for a split second. Just, a lot of the people who, we'll go back to the physique models and stuff like that. And what we experienced when we did our little infomercial type of things is that they do drastic things, so they're depleting themselves of, like, they don't drink water, they're dehydrated. I know a lot of the people that we were working with were dehydrating themselves and
pixie sticks and all
eating
kinds
pixie
of
stick
like what?
candies so that their muscles would fill up with sugar and then they would look more, I guess, cut because they were dehydrated, but then they had this swollen muscle because water went in there. And so they looked like they had more muscle than they really did. And, none of that's healthy. It's probably bodybuilders and physique models are probably the most unhealthy people on the inside, yet because of society, we give them this approval that they're so healthy when in fact,
we've seen a lot of them get really sick.
Really sick. So find your comfort level in your own skin. Try to find those non-scale victories, which are measurable in a different way. What is your blood pressure? What is your resting heart rate? What is your A1C? How fatty is your liver? How comfortable are you in your skin? How do you see yourself when you walk past a mirror? That doesn't lie either. And when you see the good things and you see the wins, stop and appreciate those so that we're not constantly just beating ourselves up. How's your energy level? How is your mood? How are you sleeping at night? All of those things are great non-scale victories that will last you so much longer than a flash of a number on a scale that we don't really ever stop to think if it's realistic enough for us. And then when we become healthy in those non-scale victories and living our life more authentically by creating a lifestyle that's healthy, then we pass that on. So we know that our kids are going to have such an easier time in life with nutrition and fitness and health choices and body image than I know my daughter will have such a better time with her body image growing up as a teenager than I ever did, because she has different ways to measure that and different ways of feeling about herself than we did growing up, because we just judge it differently. So
Paula's like, okay already.
Paula what?
No, Paula asked the question. We've been on it for a while now. She's probably going, okay already.
What about body fat? Okay, sorry. Janet, scale is ditch, clothing, feeling comfortable, awesome. And Sandra, hello, girlfriend. Okay, so.
Great question though, Paula. Great question.
Yes, great question. Because body fat percentage and scale are the same. Scale numbers are the same thing. So let's create an environment around us where everyone can be healthy in their own skin. And another thing to do too is think about complimenting people, right? I know that I love to, like when we volunteer at church, saying to women, oh my gosh, great shoes. They're so pretty. That's a beautiful color on you. Like all of those things really do help our self-worth too, because we don't know on any given day what someone's doing to judge themselves. So compliment ourselves, compliment others, stay away from indicators of success or failure that really have nothing to do with you personally or the season of life that you're in. And then realistically set expectations for yourself on how you're going to judge your success or failure based on where you are today, not where you were 20 or 30 years ago, and that will help as well. So So thanks for jumping on with us. This is the kind of stuff we're going to really go in depth on in our F3 course that we're going to be launching in June. We'll be opening it up to our previous course members first, because we feel responsible for making sure that the content that we're providing in our courses are really up to par with what everybody's asking for. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So we need some experience with us in fasting and feasting before we launch it to the general public. But stay on our email list and we'll keep you informed. And if you're a previous course member or an alumni group member, you'll be receiving an email this afternoon with information on how to get registered for our F3 course. So I hope you found this informative.
Exciting.
Thanks for jumping on with us. And if you're catching this on the rebroadcast, we'd love to hear from you too. We will see you back on my channel and on YouTube on Monday. And then otherwise, you can catch this dynamic duo again together next Friday right here on this Facebook page. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great weekend.